Part One-on-One with Mr. Burgher.
What was it, a couple weeks ago? We were talking about this Vincent
Probably
van Gogh.
about a month ago.
2, 3, I don't know. It's been a minute. We were talking about this newly discovered Vincent van Gogh painting, right?
Possible
Well,
Vincent van Gogh painting.
Right. I mean, they're still waiting on the...
Conclusions.
Yeah, they're waiting on the feedback or whatnot. Anyway, as I was thinking about this painting, because the last time we spoke about it, I said, had Vincent van Gogh painted this at the time period that the experts claimed that he had painted it, it would have been a completely different style. However, I went back and I started doing a little bit more research. I started thinking a little bit deeper, like, is that right? And when I might be a little bit off base, I'm the type of person that admits it. The statement that I made last time might not be completely accurate.
Well,
here's
expand
why.
on that.
Because Allemar is written in the corner. And Henning Allemar is a Dutch artist that Vincent van Gogh may have seen or whatever, and he did almost an exact same painting, roughly same painting that Vincent van Gogh presumably had done. This is not completely uncommon, especially when Vincent van Gogh was living in the mental home, in the mental hospital. He did painting copies of many artists. I myself am doing a copy of a Vincent van Gogh, and that copy is based on a copy that Vincent van Gogh did while living in a mental facility. And the reason that he was doing copies is because living in a mental home, he didn't have access to still lifes. He didn't have access to the landscapes. He didn't have access to all of the things that he may have, in terms of subject matter, that he may have wanted to explore. And so he resorted to doing copies based on art books that Dr. Gachet, the doctor that was in charge of him in the facility, was providing him with. And so it is possible that he saw a copy of this painting and then did a copy of it on his own.
Why wouldn't he have signed it then? Instead of putting...
He didn't sign it. For example, when he did copies of other paintings, The Sower, for example, he didn't write his name on it. He didn't write the name of Millet, the artist that he was copying on it. He just created it the way that it was, and it's possible that he was just giving credit to the artist whose original idea or concept it was.
But he normally didn't do that on other paintings that he was
Not normally. But it's possible that he did on this one.
Maybe, but probably not.
I don't know. The jury's still out.
All right. Well, welcome to Art One-on-One. I am your pod boss, Nicole Jordan, alongside your professional artist and master educator, Mr. Burgher.
Always here, always ready to go. I think last week we had a very successful podcast on the ladies of art history, and today I'm hoping for something equally as successful. It is a little bit different. Normally we do these in the evening. Because of a snow day, we have the day off.
Here we are.
Unsuspectedly, way to live in the Midwest in a blizzard. So, hey, you know what?
Fun times.
Here we go. Let's keep it rolling there.
Well, we're going to start with art talk today. And let's see what you think here. All right, more than 15,000 years ago, prehistoric artists painted cave walls. Using paints made from earth pigments and animal fat, they created images of bison, mammoths, horses, and other wild animals. These scenes were either a record of past events or painted in hopes of bringing about a successful hunt. If you were to paint a scene of something that you wish would happen, what would it be?
If I was to paint a scene, or I normally draw, so I'm going to say draw. If I was to draw a scene that I wish would happen, it would probably be similar to something that we've talked about in the past, like an American Gothic sort of scene. We've talked about, we actually visited there not too long ago, but an American Gothic sort of scene, sort of pulled back, instead of the American Gothic house, our house, instead of just us in the front looking at the viewer, it would be us and our family and extended family and all of the craziness that happens, and just kind of a snapshot of life as it is currently, in a sort of pop surrealist sort of dynamic. That's what I would do.
So that's life currently.
Right, and I would like to paint that.
But the question is, if you were to paint something that you wish to happen.
Okay. It would be our wedding on the front, in the front yard of the American Gothic house.
I would not. Like, that is one of the things we talked about when we left there. Like, that iconic scene in in a city that's just so run down. It's just really a sad.
You'd think that the house that had like such a historical marker, not only to Iowa sorts of things, but like the world sees America as American Gothic, or at least they used to. It's hard to say what they think of us nowadays, but not to get political, I will digress back into what we were talking about and just say I think that it's really sad that the city isn't in better shape, that and not to say that money is everything, or that they need to have gold paved roads leading up to the house or whatever, and they've got plenty of markers and road markers leading you through the house, but there's a lot of run-down, abandoned homes, and just kind of a sad state. And that's rural Iowa. That's rural America. People are getting out of the country, moving toward the city. They want something different, and living on the family farm, living in the small community, isn't always what it was. Although there are some places, there are some golden gems out there that people can find off of the interstate, off onto a county road or a state highway, and not necessarily, you don't always have to make the land speed record to get from point to point on the interstate. I learned that from the movie Cars. They said, our town's run down because of the interstate. And I said, that's a good point. Maybe I should not drive on the interstates all the time and just take the back roads. And that's what we did.
Yeah.
And that's what we did there.
That's what we did on the way there. And that's actually were we ended up stopping there out of the blue, because we were just kind of taking back roads home.
And I honestly didn't even know that we were there until we're driving down the highway, and I saw the sign that said the city name. And I'm like, that's where the American Gothic house is. And we turned around, and then we noticed, then I noticed, I don't know if you noticed it or not, but there was a sign that said American Gothic house.
Yes.
But I never noticed that. I just saw Eldon. What?
I think listening to you, it really kind of makes sense with what you were saying. Like, American Gothic, which was such a monumental thing back then, or such a impactful painting back then, but now life has shifted a lot, and it's like you said, there's this place, but we've kind of outgrew that. Life has changed a lot. The way the world works has changed a lot. There are still some things that have stayed the same, and that are important in our history, but I think it's how our world has shifted. What's interesting is when you started talking politics, and then you started talking American Gothic, and then I was thinking in my head, the city and how bad of shape it's in, and the thought that came into my head is make American Gothic great again.
Yeah. I will reserve my comments to myself.
I mean, that might just be a funny thing, but that is what came to my head.
It is a funny thing. Maybe I'll make a t-shirt or a hat.
Maybe that should be a mission. It's such a pretty town. It's along the river. It's like this.
Yeah,
like we were driving away, and the sunset over the river there. Remember,
it's really
it was just
pretty.
like absolutely beautiful. Just a thought.
The next segment, brushstrokes or bluffs. This is where you try your darndest to stump the America's favorite art teacher. Merch is available. From making sure that trying to make everybody second guess how much I know or don't know, disproving or proving my ignorance. So, what have we got today?
Okay, Jackson Pollock would create his drip paintings while being heavily intoxicated. He struggled with alcoholism, and he used that as a process in creating his paintings.
Yes.
That's an absolute yes.
That is a truth. He was oftentimes inebriated while doing the paintings, slopping around. There are neighbors that live next to him whose interviews I have listened to that account for him being completely out of his mind, just throwing paint around, stomping in it, cutting his feet on the broken glass from glass paint bottles, and selling things for, astronomical prices, even at the time that they were painted, and the neighbors being, somewhat rural country folk being like, how in the heck is that slop and mess worth that? But what does your AI say?
AI says that yes, that is true, but they kind of dive into it a little bit more. They do say he struggled with intoxication, and that did help in the process of creating his art. But it also says he developed a unique technique that involved laying his canvas on the ground and using various tools to drip and pour paint, allowing him to engage with the artwork from all angles. His artistic approach was rooted in a deep understanding of movement and composition, and he often prepared meticulously before starting a piece. So it's just kind of the integration of both things, I think.
And the idea of putting the canvas on the ground was not his own invention. He did that out of necessity because of the wetness of the paint. It would run, and so he wanted it to be still, so the ground was the most logical place for it. And this is something that he took from the Native American groups. I believe it was the Hopi Native Americans, where he saw them doing sand paintings on the ground, and then he's like, well, that's kind of cool how they get the sand stays where it's intended to go by the artist, and he took that and stole it for his own artistic good, and the rest is history.
What is his artwork called? Like, what type of art?
Most people, it depends on who you are. Some would call it abstract expressionism. Some would call it action painting. Some would call it drip painting, although he and Lee Krasner both thought that drip painting was, they didn't like it. They didn't like that title. But it had several names.
Interesting. Is that the only thing, like, those are, like, I love those paintings of his, but is that the only thing he did, or did he dive into other things?
Well, the mural that we saw in Iowa City, that's not a drip painting or an action painting. It's more of it's a mural done with action, more of a gestural abstraction sort of painting, before abstract expressionism really became fully flushed out. It's also interesting that, he did some surrealistic sorts of things. He dabbled with still lives and other sorts of representations of real things, but he wasn't very good at it. And so he just kind of digressed to more, or evolved perhaps to more abstract sorts of things. He actually learned from one of the great Missouri muralists, and really stylistically completely the opposite, Thomas Hart Benton. learned from him at the in a school in New York, and then Benton would eventually migrate back to Missouri, where he lived in Kansas City. His home and studio is in Kansas City. He worked at the Kansas City Art Institute, or the Art Institute of Kansas City, one of the two. I don't know which way it flips. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Point is, he worked there and was there toward the end of his life, but he was oftentimes questioned about his training of Jackson Pollock. And it's fair to say that he was not necessarily a fan of Jackson Pollock's art, but he was certainly a fan of Jackson Pollock as a person.
Really?
I think he was a cheerleader for Pollock. He wanted to see him successful, even though Jackson Pollock had his demons. And if there are people that are out there struggling with alcohol or abuse in any way, shape, or form, that there is help, there is way to get out of it, and you don't need any sort of substance to make your art better. The idea that you need some sort of something to make you more creative or to make you better or make you one thing or another is a complete fabrication. You don't need it. And
is that what he felt? Like, I mean, has he ever said that directly? Like,
I don't know that he ever said that directly, but he was in and out of treatment while he was living in New York. His wife basically forced him into rehab several times for alcohol abuse. He would just go on these tirades where he would go days and days and days, and she'd find him on the street walking around with just dirty and filthy, and eventually drag him home and get him cleaned up and sobered up, and then he'd be good for a while. He was at his best when he was under the help of a psychiatrist and psychologist, when he was being evaluated and, able to talk to somebody about his inner brain demons and whatnot. He was at his best. And when he wasn't undergoing therapy and talking to a psychologist or psychiatrist, he was a menace to society. He killed somebody being an alcoholic. It drove his car into a tree and killed himself and someone else in the process. Avoid that.
That's how he died? That's how he passed?
He died in a car accident, smashed into a tree while he was completely out of his mind. And it should not have been anywhere near a vehicle, let alone what he was doing.
So the perception that Pollock has is that he's this creative person only when he's intoxicated, right? And I think that it's such a sad thing, but it's not an artist thing. It's a person thing. Like, a lot of us think that if we're not drinking or using drugs or sex or whatever it is to mask the things, like these true things or demons that you say that are going on inside of us, that it's like people don't want to deal with those, so they turn to drugs, alcohol, sex, food, whatever it is, to handle those things, right?
Right.
And we're going to move into the Art Vault and talk about the book, The Artist's Way, which is like a huge passion of mine, and I know you feel the opposite, but this is a perfect...
As I slide my glasses on
to
read my notes.
This is a perfect transition.
I got notes.
This is a perfect transition into that, though, because it's really the focus of The Artist's Way, and the biggest topic they cover is getting to the root of these shadows and removing these shadows or these blocks so we can truly become who we are and what we authentically desire.
And I think that as a basic fundamental idea, that's a good idea. The intention behind the work, I respect, I appreciate, I like, I enjoy it. But having gone through the book, I don't necessarily appreciate how she does it. She does it in a manipulative way. in my opinion. To say that this is a part of recovery, to someone like Jackson Pollock, going out and getting your hair done and calling it a artist date is a complete slap in the face. It is not authentic artwork. Going out and going to a hobby store and spending some money is not an art activity.
But you're not looking at the reason for that artist date. The artist date is for you to be by yourself. And in this society, we think we need people and places and things. The artist date is it's not about what you do. It's not about spending the money or like going out and getting a massage or whatever. It's the importance of you taking the time to be by yourself and do what you want to do, not what anyone else wants to do.
But I think that what she's saying is that in order to be an artist, this is what artists do. But that's not what artists do. And calling it recovery, this is recovery from the way you used to be, is disrespectful to people that are in actual recovery, that have got actual addictions to, regardless of what it is. This isn't recovery. This book is not about recovering from an abuse. I think that there's a better way to frame it that's not quite so disrespectful to people that are actually, and again, I think she's full of herself. I think that she is riding on the coattails that her brother is a big-time movie director. Okay, your brother made some great movies. I love Titanic. I like Avatar. That has nothing to do with you. What movie did you make? You didn't make a damn one that's any good. You made some, they weren't any good. You wrote a book that's a best-selling book, then what did you do? What did you do with the information on your own? You didn't do a damn thing.
So The Artist's Way is a book by Julia Cameron. And the basis of the book is kind of like what I said. There's this 12-week process that you go into to help uncover your authentic self and then remove the blocks that are holding you back from becoming that authentic self. The Artist's Way isn't necessarily about an artist. It's really about uncovering your creative self, whether that's a writer, a bartender, whatever it is. Like, who do you authentically want to become? And creating a process that gradually uncovers that. And she gives you tools. Two of the big tools are the morning pages, which have been life-changing for me. I'm like in week 10 of this, and I have committed to doing it every morning. You write 3 pages, and the goal of writing those 3 pages, you wake up and you write these 3 morning pages, and it's just whatever shit you want to put onto the page, that's what you do. And it's just like letting go of the shit so you can kind of focus on what really needs to come to the surface. And like I said, these morning pages have been so impactful to me. Like, I'm going through a lot of transitions with work and some other things, and it has just helped me to become so clear on things. The other tool is the artist dates. Those are the 2 biggest ones. And she's very specific that she wants you to do those things. The artist dates are going by yourself, taking an hour a week alone by yourself to do something that really sparks your creative flow or your energies. And that is one thing you are stuck on. And the other thing I think is so interesting that you are stuck on is how you think she's a very egoic person, I think. Like, she talks about herself and her family and things a lot in the book, right? Is that what you're saying bothers you?
What I'm saying bothers me is that she's like, oh, I walk down the street and people recognize me. I walk down the street and people, they say, oh, you look like such and so and so and so. Oh, I just am. And then we get into a great conversation. And this is my idea. And this is my artist pages. I invented the journal. I invented therapy. I'm going to call this recovery. I'm going I'm going to assume that if you want to become an artist, everybody's going to think you're gay, and you need to think that that's okay, and not second guess what other people think. You know what? It's to me, it's diving into this completely stereotypical view of what it is to be an artist, what it is to be creative. She's perpetuating a stereotype. Oh, you're an artist? You must be flamboyant. You must be this. You must be that. Don't be afraid if your friends think of you in a different way. And if they second guess the fact that you're doing these artist dates and that you're spending money and you're calling going to buy clothes at the Goodwill as being an artist activity, if they second guess you, then they're against you. You're the enemy. They are the enemy, and you need to cut them out of your life. If anybody says that you're doing the wrong thing, then they're the enemy. Cut them out of your life. She's so extreme, and I'm pretty sure she's destroyed relationships over this. Some of the things that she puts in there, I think they're dangerous.
I think you need to revisit on why this is such a triggering thing for you.
The reason that it's a triggering thing is because I take what I do as an art educator very seriously, mm-hmm. and I think that when people go into this or write a book about the how to be a creative, how to be an artist, I went into this full steam. I was doing the artist pages. I was doing the artist dates. I was doing all of the stuff until I got to the point where it's like, what are the artist pages actually doing? Nothing.
Which was how many weeks in?
2.
Exactly.
2 weeks.
Yeah, 2. You didn't even give it the chance to, like, the full experience to be able to accomplish what this book wants to accomplish. And you're focusing on, you got to think about, I don't know when this book, so 30th anniversary, when was this book written? This book was written at a time where, like, artists were, like the starving artist, and, artists are alcoholics or gay, or, like, mentally they struggle. So she is addressing some of those things in there and helping people to overcome those stigmas. If that is a block of theirs, that's just a piece of it, though. That's not like, I don't like that particular chapter or that particular piece did not resonate with me because I didn't have those views. Like, art wasn't even a thing growing up for me, but there were a lot of other, like, I lacked confidence, I lacked creativity, I lacked authenticity, and this book has really, I've really been working on that for 10 years, so this book has kind of like just expanded that or helped me better that, but I love this book. This is one of my favorite books that I've read.
Do you feel in 10 weeks you've gotten more creative?
Absolutely.
How?
I think that creativity.
No, not. Do you think more clearly? How have you become more creative? What have you been creating that's more creative?
But it's not, creativity is like your creativity. What is creativity to you? It's not being an artist. It is. It's like being an artist of your own life, right?
It's called the artist's way.
Yes, but it's being an artist of your own life. It's not creativity as in like art or music, or it's what is it's like figuring out what is creativity to you and how can you incorporate that into your life and live your life incorporating that creativity. Creativity for me is connecting with people, is helping them grow. It's having compassion with people, listening to them. Like, what else would be creative to me?
But is that creativity? Is that the definition of creativity? Connecting with people? Because I don't think it is.
You don't think that's a gift?
I'm not saying it's not a gift. I'm saying creativity. It says right here on the front, a spiritual path to higher creativity.
Yes.
I'm asking you simply,
yes.
How have you gotten higher creativity? Not how have you connected more with people, not how did you justify getting, buying an outfit and calling it your artist date or whatever. I'm saying, how have you grown to become more creative or higher creativity based upon what she's telling you to do in this manual, this how-to book?
Okay, so I am going to go back into like one of the pages. Okay, so creativity, like, am I being more creativity? What is creativity for me? How do I unlock that creativity? And that is by creating more joy in my life, more freedom, more. And so that creative process is uncovering those things that bring me joy, that bring me whatever those emotions are that I want to feel. So, like, creativity, you're thinking creativity like art.
I'm thinking creativity as in literal, defined creativity. Being able to imagine, being able to come up with ideas that are unique and original and creative, not how to go to the grocery store and buy some things that you were already going to buy and you did it on your own. So it's the artist date.
So I'm going to go back to, I think creativity is like finding that authentic flow from your higher self, God, whatever it is, your subconscious. Like, creativity isn't creativity in the form of a piece of art, or it's creativity in the fact that we are creating a life that we want, that's authentic to ourselves. And so if you're asking the question, is that creative flow happening? 100%. Because I can tell you, like, I always tell you, what do I always tell you when I know how I know I'm in creative flow or when things are aligned? What do I always tell you?
You tell me.
Things are what? Things are what?
You tell
Things are easy. Things just happen.
Okay.
And intuitively, I know things. And things have happened on our house intuitively. Things have happened with my job intuitively that have just came through from going through this process and uncovering what it is and then asking for it.
So you're saying that your intuition, your ability to think about, oh, there's something going on with the house, I'm going to intuitively think that this is the result of it or the cause of it, and that's based on what you read in this book? That's complete hogwash. Because you were, and you can't say that you haven't been intuitive prior to reading this.
I go in and out of trusting my intuition and listening to my higher self, and like getting up and doing those morning pages for me has been, it has just changed. I have just been so, maybe you would disagree, I don't know, but pretty laid back and not super worried about things. Like, even with this house, you don't think that's true?
No.
We're living in a house that's unfinished. There's a lot of chaos going on right now, and normally I would be like trying to figure it all out, getting the basement, like putting plans together, content, and I've just been kind of like sitting back, and I have this feeling that something is going to come into fruition that makes sense, and it's just going to happen. And ultimately, recently, in the last week, it has. And I'm normally not that person. I'm normally the person that's like, oh my God, this is happening, and this is happening, and I've got to fix this, and I've got to fix this. And that flow, that listening to my higher self, that trusting confidence, that has really came about or been, I don't know, recently brought to light again. There's times in my life that I've really been connected in this way, but because of this book. And when I am doing the things like going inward, taking artist dates, doing my morning pages, I feel like life is so much easier for me.
And what I would say is, if you think that writing in a journal for 3 pages a day helps you, great. But she didn't invent that.
But it's just not that. What are the other tools in the book? You're removing shadows.
Going out on your own and having this artist date is a complete mirage of it's complete. It's a complete invention of baloney. It doesn't help make you more creative.
But that's what you're saying is not true, because you just said 10 minutes ago that people need to understand that alcohol, drugs, whatever, isn't what makes you creative.
That's
right?
true. 100%.
Okay. And in this book, she goes greatly in detail about that.
About how drugs and alcohol are supposed to help you?
No. Like the chapter we're on right now, chapter 12 is on, chapter 10 is on focusing on some of these blocks, like busyness, alcoholism, things like that, and how those things, like we need to remove those things out of our lives to see that we don't need those things in order to be creative.
I didn't read the book, and I could have told you that. I mean, because I look at examples of artists that say, "Oh, I did this, or I did that, or this is how I got through that." And yeah, you're right, and look at where they ended up. Jackson Pollock relied on alcohol. He died. Jean-Michel Basquiat, he dealt with heroin. He died. These guys that say, "Oh, my creativeness is based on a habit," it's not, and it's an excuse and it's a crutch to be able to justify their habits and their bad decision making. So let me digress into this.
I agree with you.
Thing that she had to say. A trusting student hears that good work is bad. The teacher says that they were mistaken in seeing their talent. This is, by her definition, this is covert sexual harassment. Those are her exact words.
Read that.
Covert sexual harassment. That's completely inappropriate. So basically what she's saying is, if I as a teacher go to a student that's not performing well, and I say, "Look, you're not performing up to your talent." Number one, I'd never say that, because talent and skill are very different. I've said that many times, and I say that to my students all the time. Nobody has talent. So when they come in, so by me telling my students that you guys don't have talent, it's not about talent. It's not about what you're born with. It's about the skills that you develop. It's about the practice and the work and the time and the dedication to get better and to hone your abilities and your skills, not just saying, "Well, I'm an artist because I was born that way," which is what talent is. By me telling students that they don't have talent, by me telling students that that their work is not up to the certain standard or isn't up to a certain level, I am committing, by her definition, covert sexual harassment. That to me is a dangerous message to send to people, and it's completely inappropriate.
I don't know. I mean, I would have to go back and read that, like in what context it's used. But
that's the context it was framed in.
I think the point of it is that when you're saying that to someone, the impacts of that can be so far-reaching, and we know that as people now, like the impact of what my art teacher said or did not say to me, my math teacher, whatever, like those experiences stay with you. And so if you tell me something from an ego-centered approach, not from like being a loving, supporting, wanting you to become a better person aspect, like if you're blocked, if you're not living like the artist's way from a heart-centered way, and really and you're telling someone that this is not their best work or this is crap or whatever, of course it's going to happen. That to me is
sexual harassment.
I don't know that's the thing is, I don't know what she means by sexual harassment.
Covert, under the radar sexual harassment. Those are her exact words.
I think it's traumatic. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's very traumatic to a person. So it would be equivalent in a way to me to that, but I don't know what she means by that. Traumatic is just, I think, and that's one of the other big things of the artist's way. Like, I'm doing this in a group, and you are never supposed to give, like when we're talking to each other about what we did or did not do, what we liked in the chapter, we are never supposed to provide feedback to each other or comment or try to fix it. We just listen to the person. And that, I think, is what she's reiterating. Like if you don't have something one, she doesn't want you, because if you are blocked, it's not going to be good for that person. Just like if someone gives you, she talks about that in that book. If you're an artist or an author and you write a book and you have someone review it that is completely blocked, or living in this egocentric way, it's not going to be good feedback. So you want to make sure that the people that you're surrounding yourself with, the people that you're having review your art or your works, are living from this.
And that's exactly what I just said. Anybody that is a naysayer, anybody that isn't following her prescribed method of creativity, which is not even about creativity, anybody that has a criticism of you or your work or your process is the enemy. No. And that's exactly what I said 15 minutes ago.
That's not what she's saying. That's not what she's saying. She's just saying,
that's exactly what she's saying.
Be really careful about who you are listening to or who you're taking advice from, because if they are not a person that's living in alignment,
if there's somebody that's not reading her book.
No, that's not what she's saying. That's your perception of it, and I don't know why that's such a trigger for you, but I think if you would really put the work in and be open to it and get over,
if I would read the book,
I do agree with you.
If I would,
yes, take the time to do the process. I agree with you. The very first chapter you and I read together, right? And we talked about how we thought she was very she brought in too much of her own story, and she had to validate herself through these pages. And I don't disagree with that at all, but that's not the purpose of this book. She brings it in there, and she has to throw those things in there, and I do think it's for a certain reason, but that's not what the book's about. And she's trying to help people. She's not trying to hurt people, and I don't know why that's such a trigger for you that it's funny. Here's what I think. I think it's funny that you are focusing so much on
the words.
No, focusing on so much of how she is promoting herself when this is a struggle of yours.
What do you mean?
It's a struggle of yours to promote yourself.
It's a struggle to promote myself?
Yeah.
I don't think it's a struggle to promote myself. What's the name of the podcast? What's the name of my YouTube channel? What's the name of my website? What's the name of all the things that I do? My name's on everything.
Yes, but
But
you don't ever focus on you. You're always focusing on artists and art history, and the focus is never on you and what you bring to the table. The focus is never on what you are promoting, your artwork, and it's very hard for you to talk about that too. And it's very hard for you to bring up all this, what's your webpage or what's that, where you put your art out? Redbubble. You don't ever talk about that. You say you want to create art and you want to do these vendor things, and we never do it. I think this is hitting a spot for you where if you really truly got into this book, it would be life-changing for you.
I think that, number one, I am triggered by words. I'm triggered by, and I'll admit that, when somebody says, we've talked about this very recently, when somebody says something that I feel is wrong, it's hard for me just to forget about it. It's hard for me just to let it go. It's hard for me, if I've been wronged or somebody says something that is wrong, it's hard for me just to bite my tongue and walk away and be like, you know what? It's all good. I'm just going to forgive. I'm going to be a forgiving person. I'll admit, it's probably wrong. It's probably wrong of me not to be a more forgiving person, but I'm not. I'm not a forgiving person. I'm not forgiving in people that wronged my family. I'm not very good at forgiving people that wrong me or my kids or that do things that are, to me, unethical. It's hard for me to just walk past somebody that's lying, cheating, and stealing. Whether it's a wrestling coach that's doing something or saying something that's just point blank wrong or unethical, or an art teacher that's saying something wrong or unethical, or by me saying something to a student, somebody saying to me, "Oh, you're committing a sexual abuse crime." This has nothing to do with
You are not
that.
the person she's talking about. Why are you thinking that she's talking about you?
Because that's what she said.
No, you give feedback from an authentic way, in a way that you change. It's the advice you're giving them is to help them grow, learn, and expand. It's not from an ego perspective. That's what she's talking about.
I'm trying to get students to get better, and I'm saying to them, the tools that you are born with, that's talent, has nothing to do with what we're doing. And it's all about skill. It's all about building the skill. And I don't, like, personally think that talent doesn't exist. I personally believe that talent does exist. But it's what you do with the talent that matters. Because I've seen lots of kids that could just naturally draw. But then when I say, hey, do it this way, or hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you fine-tune that? They're not coachable, they're not trainable, they're arrogant, and they think that their way is the best way and the only way. I'm not so arrogant to think that my way is the best way or the only way. It's the way that works for me, but that doesn't mean it's the only way. But for somebody to say that my way is committing covert sexual harassment, that to me I have a problem with.
But that's not your way.
That you're exactly right. But she's saying that if I say to kids that their talent doesn't matter, if I say that, you know what, I thought you had talent, you don't have talent.
Exactly.
If I say
that's traumatic to a kid. How is that not traumatic? How is that not going to shut down anything that they thought was...
I tell every single kid that walks in my room, talent doesn't exist. I'm saying that basically in different language. I'm saying that exact same thing to kids. That when your moms and your dads, I'm saying to them, when their moms, their dads, and grandmas come and they say, oh, and it happens on every single thing that I post through social media. Oh, look at the talent. It's probably 15 comments. Every one of them uses the same word.
You're saying that's skill, not talent.
I'm saying that it's skill, not talent.
Yeah, but I understand that, but I think you're...
And so when I go to the kid, and I say, you know what, everybody, look at all the comments. They say that you're talented. You're not. This isn't talent. You've worked your butt off. That's skill. You developed that.
But that's totally different than just shutting them down altogether and saying they don't have talent or skill. And that's what it's talking about. It's not, you're just seeing talent as you're seeing talent as more skill.
No.
And like the thing they put work into and heart into and creativity into, where talent for them is innate, is what you're saying.
I think
that's not what...
I go by what words mean.
I very much know this.
And I'm very hardwired to think very literally about things.
Yes.
And when I think about words, I think about what they literally mean, not what public displays think that they mean. I think people think that talent and skill are interchangeable. It's not. They're two different words that have two different meanings. And when people use them interchangeably, I have personal issues with that. Because then kids think, well, I wasn't born this way, so I can't be that. How many dumbasses do you think walk in front of me and say, I can't draw anything? Well, it's probably because you never tried. It's probably because you had shitty teachers. It's probably because nobody took the time to show you how to do it. But you know what? I'm going to take the time to show them how to do it. I'm going to take the time to show them how to do it right. I'm going to take the time to do X, Y, Z. Because I'm not going to be that teacher that just says, well, you weren't born to draw very good, so I guess you can't.
Yeah. Well, I think we need to get back to, like, I think what you're saying is right, and it makes sense.
You're damn right it's right.
I think she is aligned with what you're saying.
I don't think so at all.
Wholeheartedly, I think she is. If you really read the whole book and understood the
You
whole
haven't
book
read the
and
whole
did
book.
the process. I haven't. I'm 10 weeks into it. I have 2 more chapters left. I'm just saying, I think if you didn't quit at 2 weeks because something in that triggered you.
No, I've read. I'm on.
Have you done the morning pages?
No.
Exactly.
But that's not reading the book.
Okay.
You said all I have to do is read the book, and I've read the book.
Okay, and you didn't let me finish.
I've read the book.
Read the book,
I have my own copy.
The 12-week process.
I got my own copy. We both have our own copies. I got my own copy.
Okay, so I'm going to challenge you because I would love to do this book again, and I wanted to do it with you the first time, and you let that first chapter get in the way of you.
I've got like 8 weeks in.
I know you're 8 weeks into reading it, but you're not 8 weeks into doing the process. And I think if you actually went and did the process and read the book and did what she said, you would feel differently about it. So here's my challenge to you.
Uh-oh.
I think after I'm done with my 12 weeks with my group that we should go in and do the book again, just you and I, and actually do it. Because I'm going to continue to do the morning pages. It's been impactful for me. I think it's hard for you to make that long of a commitment, for one thing, because you are here and there, and this, that, and that is an issue with me, too.
Here's the problem with in terms of the morning pages. For me to wake up a half an hour early, okay, I already wake up pretty early in the morning. If I wake up 30 minutes earlier to write those 3 pages.
Okay, we'll do it in the summer then.
I'm just listen.
Okay.
Just hear me out.
All right.
Because I'm going to guarantee you, anybody that has read or wants to read this plan of spiritual path to higher creativity that has nothing to do with creativity.
You're so wrong.
She uses the word God 15 million times, but she doesn't show you a single approach to actual creativity, to actually become more creative. I mean, when I did the 2 weeks of writing the journals down, the morning pages.
You didn't do 2 weeks.
Yes, I did. Okay. I did 2 weeks of the morning pages.
Okay.
I've got them.
Okay.
When I did the 2 weeks of the morning pages, it was, okay, I got to wake up 30 minutes earlier. I got to write this thing down. What did I get for those 2 weeks of waking up early and doing it? Nothing. It provided me with nothing. It provided me no more insight, no more creativity. No, I was no better off than I was before. Did it allow me to write down a bunch of stuff about what happened yesterday, or what I want to do today, or what's going on? Sure. It allowed me a place to vent certain things that were going on, but it didn't make me more creative. It didn't unlock or unblock me from being able to go throughout my day, because I don't wake up that way. I wake up with a song in my head and a positive attitude. 90% of the time, 99% of the time, I wake up in a good mood with a song in my head, and I'm ready to sing and dance and go in the shower and do my thing and go to work, and I'm happy to go.
But you also just stated you can't forgive people. I mean, I'm not.
That has nothing to do with creativity.
It absolutely does.
What does that have to do with creativity?
It's a block. It's a shadow that you have that is, I'm sure, holding you back in some way, shape, or form. And this is getting way deep. But here's the thing.
That has nothing to do with creativity.
There's either 2 things, in which I would love people's thoughts on this. Either you're just at a point in your life where the artist way just doesn't call to you, and that may be completely truth. And I'm at a point where I'm looking for some guidance and direction, and to go really deeper on my spiritual path.
But this
is where I'm at.
This is okay.
Let me finish. Or if I want to know if people think that it would be a good thing, you're just like, you're putting up a wall so you don't have to dive into this and like make the commitment to it, and it's really something we should do together. I would love to get people's responses on that. I don't know how I feel about it. Maybe it's just not the right book for you. Maybe it's not the time in the life for you to read this book. Maybe there's a different time, or maybe it's the perfect time because you're just really putting up a wall and a block, and it's something that you should really work through.
When I look at the book, I look at what it is. What does it say? It says it's the artist's way. I'm an artist. I actually make
Everybody
art.
is an artist. Everybody is an artist. Right?
Fair enough.
Yes.
But this says this is the artist's way.
Yes.
I don't do any of that shit. So it's clearly not the artist's way. Number
because
2,
you're reading it literally. Again, you are stuck in the literal
because those are the literal words of what the literal title is.
That's not what that title means. The artist's way is about finding your authentic self, your creativity. It's not art. It's not.
That's not what it says.
Anything.
It says it's the artist's way.
Yeah, but if you'd read the book, you'd know.
And
exactly.
I have read the book. I've read more than half of the book. And nowhere in there does it say, oh,
yeah, maybe that's the problem. You're just stuck on the title.
This isn't really for artists. This is this. Because what are the examples? It's about writers. No. It's about directors. It's about
everybody.
Visual artists. It's about photographers.
Their own artist of their own life.
But that's not what the examples. That's not what she's talking about.
She gives those examples because that's her life.
The artist's way.
You're so yeah.
And the second thing is, the subtitle says it's a spiritual path. I'll go along with that. It's certainly a spiritual path to higher creativity. This doesn't improve your creativity one iota. What it tells you to do is journal your feelings, and which is a good thing.
So need to read this.
It's a good process, but it has nothing to do with creativity. And the second thing is, go out on an artist date. What is that? Oh, well, go get your hair done. I went to go get a haircut. That's me being an artist, because artists get haircuts. Oh, I got a pedicure, which you did as one of your artist dates
by myself.
No, you didn't go by yourself. You went with your sister.
No,
and that was both your artist dates.
That's not true. We've never done an artist date with a pedicure. I said it was really hard. I went one day before going to Chris's house by myself, and it was really hard because I normally do those with her. So I took the time to do it by myself, and then I was like reading or something while I was doing it. So I was
and that's
being creative.
because that is that's what you think creativity is, and that's not what fucking creativity is.
That's not what I think creativity is. I think creativity is getting in a higher consciousness state, a process of going inward to find what you truly want in life, and then being an artist and creating that life that you want.
But is that creativity?
It 100% is. That's creativity for me. Just because creativity is art for you, it's not for me.
But that's what you again, you're not listening to what the word defined is.
This is not a literal title.
Yes, it is a literal title. It literally says artist's way. Create higher creativity. It doesn't tell you what artists actually do. It tells you what she feels that artists should do. And if anybody second guesses,
read the top of this.
If anybody second guesses, if anybody second guesses, they're the enemy.
Okay, a course in discovering and recovering your creative self.
Creative.
Yes. What is creativity for you? Creativity for me is different than creativity for you, Michael.
Okay, and you're right. Creativity is going to be different for every individual that approaches what they're creating. But at the end of the day, creativity, create is the root word. What are you creating when you go to the bookstore and you buy it? No.
Yes.
But that's not what creativity is.
Yes, it is.
That's not what creation, that's not what... No, it isn't.
What is it? Wait, what were you going to say? That's not what? What? Creation?
It's not creation.
Okay.
What are you... But if I go and I buy a book and I read it, what have I created?
Okay, we're going to...
If I go get a pedicure, what have I created? Somebody else did it. Somebody else did that artwork, but I didn't do anything.
You're focusing on the wrong.
I'm the passive acceptor of whatever somebody else has done. If I read their book, I'm passively taking what they say, and you're passively taking this creativity completely off the rails because you know that that's not what creativity is.
I 100% disagree with you.
Okay, well, I guess we can agree to disagree.
Exactly.
I hate that.
And that's where we'll leave it.
Because you're wrong. You are dead ass wrong.
I don't think either one of us is wrong. I think it means something to you and it means something to me, and we're just at different stages when it comes to that.
Yeah, and that's, according to her, you should be thinking of me as the enemy because I don't agree with it.
That's not what she's saying.
That's exactly, look, I could find the exact quote. I'll put it down on the screen. I'll put all the quotes down there that prove my point.
Do you love and support me?
Yes.
Do you want the best for me?
Sure.
Then she's not saying you're my enemy.
But
she's saying I should spend more time with you because you are a person that lights me up and helps to support my dreams and goals.
She has all but said
wrong.
Okay. Proof is in the pudding.
All right. Well, hopefully, I don't know. Maybe a lot of people shut this episode off a while back, but hopefully you stuck with us and enjoyed the episode. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, do all of the things that help support us. Share this video with someone that you think would enjoy it, which I'm sure there are a bunch of people that would get entertainment out of this episode. Anything you want to add there?
Least favorite episode ever.